Talk first of all about your defensive tackles, how they played, and if they're sort of living up to expectations you had for them.
You know what? We our expectations are high, and they're learning. But right now, there's an urgency for more production out of those guys. We played okay, but we haven't played winning football right now, and they understand that, and the urgency isn't coming off of them. So, they're gonna live up to our expectations. Right now we're in the process of continuing to grow these young men, and right now it's some growing pains, and we got to live through that. But they're working, and every day they come out with a working like attitude, and they'll eventually get there.
So there is a light at the end of the tunnel for these guys.
Oh, ain't no question. You here at Auburn, it's the reason why they're here, and they're working. They're working. But it's a process. It's a process that we knew that we were going to have to go through, and there is a light. But like I said, it's all determined on how they work. And right now they're answering it, and haven't played really well. I won't say haven't played really well, production-wise. We got to have more production out that position, and they understand that, and that's the goal.
What are 2 or 3 things you'd like the defensive tackles to do better on the field?
Just maintain gap integrity and affect the quarterback. You can't be a defensive tackle and don't affect the quarterback. And in our defense, if just playing our defense, if you do what you're supposed to do, you'll make plays. But the concept of I'm playing by myself, I got to make every play instead of do my job. And that's what we got to focus on, playing as a team. Too many guys that think that I got to make the play and miss the play when their play comes. So it's just a process of learning and doing what you're supposed to do. And that's what we're stressing, and that's what we got to have, and we're not backing down from that.
Let me ask you about the DNs. Obviously, they've had some success rushing the passer. How do you feel like the whole entire of their game is going?
There's a lot of pressure on those guys to do well, but it all goes back to the inside guys, because if they're not doing their job, it's a lot more pressure on them to produce. But it's a group effort, and there has to be more production inside, and it's only going to benefit those guys. And people, it's just like I tell them all the time. There are 2 books out on you now, 2 games. Everybody can see what you can do, what you can't do, and you got to work at it. And like I said, they're trying to, and it's some growing pains, and to watch it, but they have got to continue to work. And there's no shortcuts to success, none whatsoever. And as bad as we want to win, and bad as we want success, there ain't no shortcuts to it. And it's all involved work.
Kenneth Carter it looked like he made some plays. Kenneth Carter gets Mississippi State.
Ken did, and Ken's coming, mid-spring, and he's a worker. And that's one thing I say about Ken. He's a worker. He don't say much, but he's a worker. And he's a guy that's played a lot of games here, and so he understands. And he's one of them guys that could step it up and be real productive. So we got to have it. Somebody has to step up and produce out of that position.
I want to ask you about another guy. Devontae Sigler is a guy that you talked a lot about last year as having a big upside. We haven't really seen him this year. What's happening with him?
Devontae missed last week, and he's back this week. The thing about Devontae, Devontae has to grow up. He has to grow up. It's a man's game. And right now, he's just not a full-grown man. And we're trying to get these guys to grow up and be accountable and understand that this is a tough man game. And, he's in that process. And no excuses for none of them, but they got to just understand our standards ain't coming down. They got to come to our standards.
Is Angelo, have you seen him improve his technique some? Because last year he was a raw guy. Have you seen him get a little bit better technique-wise?
Angelo's going to be one of them guys that, he's probably one of the hardest workers I got out there. He works his tail off, and it's every day. I can't think of a day that he hasn't came out there and worked. So it's just going to be a matter of time before that light goes on, and then it's probably going to be see ya, Angelo. Because he has all the physical tools. He's big, he's fast, and he's athletic enough. But he's really a pup and hadn't played much ball, and it's like he's starting over every time you go out. And you want to see him improve, but at the same time, you can't get mad at him because that guy just works. And eventually, the light will come on and then it'll go off. It'll come on and then it'll go off. But once that light comes on for him, he's gonna be something. He's gonna be something to deal with.
He seemed like he was just that close on a couple of plays against Mississippi State. Penetrated, got in the backfield, and just couldn't quite get his hands on the guy.
Being a former defensive lineman, making plays is contagious. It's like when you make one, you want to make another one, you want to make another one, and he got his feel of making one the other day. So we're just gonna see how he continues to grow. His best ball is way ahead of him. But the thing as a coach, of course you want it to be right now because we need it. It's right now, but it's gonna be on. You can only just, like I said, there's no shortcuts, and he has to go through what he has to go through to become a player. But like I said, the thing that we got to stress is our expectations. It's pressure to perform every day and do it our way. And that's the way we're going to stand by, and that's the way it is. We're going to do it our way. And there's no way, if it ain't the right way, we're not going to be satisfied with you doing it your way. It's our way. And our way works. Your way don't. So that's what they got to buy into.